The pressure is on for President Biden's State of the Union address tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, Biden is set to tout his achievements during the speech, specifically focusing on lowering costs for consumers. To tell us more on what economic themes we should be looking out for, Yahoo Finance reporter Rick Newman is here with the latest. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Rochelle. I'm putting this into three buckets. So I think first Biden is going to tell us what he's been telling us for the last couple of years, which is everything that's good about the economy, very strong labor market, unemployment close to record lows. I don't know if he'll mention the stock market, but that's been hitting record highs, and that's good for him as well. So number one, he's going to try to take credit for the good things that are going on. Number two, he has to acknowledge there's more work to do. And he'll be talking about what he hopes to continue accomplishing. And that's where I think he's going to get into going after junk fees, going after corporate greed, some of these things we've been hearing about in the last couple of weeks. And he's going to talk about the need to continue to get inflation down, because that's obviously a big concern among voters. And then number three, he's going to start campaigning a little bit. He's going to tell us what he wants to do in a second term, and that will include a higher tax rate for corporations. He wants higher taxes on high earners, millionaires, and billionaires. Those are some of the things he campaigned on in 2020, and most of that he was unable to get done so far in his term, and he's not going to get any tax increases at this point. But that's how he's going to start distinguishing himself from Donald Trump on the Republican side, who, of course, wants to cut taxes even lower and keep low taxes in place for the wealthy. So Biden is going to be telling everybody what he has accomplished so far and basically beginning his re-election campaign in earnest tonight.
And Rick, it's tough because especially you have a consequential State of the Union in an election year, in a year where you ask yourself, am I better off now than I was 4 years ago? How difficult do you think it's going to be for the president to navigate that?
I think that's a very tough challenge for Biden, because we've got tons of survey data that show us, I think it's fair to say, a majority of Americans do not feel better off now than they were 3 or 4 years ago. And this is an odd situation because so how do voters think about the Trump presidency? Do they think about it only up until the COVID pandemic that happened in 2020, or do they factor in the COVID pandemic and the way Trump's presidency ended? So I mean, on the data, Trump's presidency ended poorly in terms of the economic data because of all the jobs we lost from the COVID pandemic. And that's why Biden is right when he says, Trump's one of the few presidents to ever have lost jobs under his presidency, but that's because of COVID. And I think what we're finding is a lot of voters put COVID aside, and they think about gas prices that were, in the $2 to $3 range under Trump. There was no inflation to speak of under Trump. And they say, well, we were better off under Trump. I mean, a lot of this inflation really has nothing to do with Biden or Trump. It's much of it is just related to the COVID pandemic, supply chain shortages, and all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't really matter. I mean, the president gets credit or blame for what happens on his watch. And that's a challenge for Biden, is to convince people that things are going to get better and that he's the right guy for the next 4 years.